bom dia, muito prazer. Sorry, I'm nervous. Can you tell? But hello, Portugal. It's so nice to be here. I'm so honored, honestly, to be invited to speak at this event. It's not every day that you get a chance like this coming from India. So, yeah, thank you so much for showing up on a Saturday morning to listen to me share my story. And yeah, it's just incredible to be here among some really legendary surfers. And yeah, I'm just so stoked to be able to share my story of what my journey was like becoming India's first woman surfer. Sounds wild. And it's been a pretty unconventional story, I guess. But I think my life has been unconventional in a lot of ways. Yeah, I grew up in Bombay. Has anyone here been to India? Yeah, okay, my friends in the back, Emmy. Yeah, I grew up in Mumbai or Bombay, which is like a big city, 26 million people. It's a coastal city. And yeah, I mean, even though it's a coastal city, we're talking about 26 million people, and sadly, I think only 20-30% of the sewage gets treated, So even though we have the beach, you can't enjoy it as much, But I grew up just loving the water always. Little Mermaid was my favorite Disney character. Wait, let me go next. Go figure. Me as even little Ishita was always loved the water. And I don't think I ever imagined that one day I would become a surfer. But I did have dreams. So if you see, actually my family, when I say unconventional, I have a big family. So my mom's side is she's one of 7, right? And my aunts and uncles moved abroad. And so if you look at my family, all of us, we look like an ad for United Colors of Benetton, Because we have Indians, Africans, not Portuguese. Actually, we do have one Portuguese. Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, my cousin's wife is Portuguese. Okay, yeah. So we're I always felt like I was from the world, Even though I'm Indian, if I'm in India, I'm not fully Indian, but last night I felt Indian when I went and ate some Indian food at a local restaurant over here. Anyway, I digress. I guess I'm going to keep this photo for a while. But what I'm saying is, I had an uncle who lived in California, and growing up, I don't know why, I always felt one day I'll go to California and I'll learn how to surf, I'd only seen surfing on TV, maybe it was Baywatch or 90210. And yeah, I just thought, but it just felt so out there, because growing up, I never saw anyone surfing in India. It just wasn't the norm. And in India, most people are just afraid of the ocean, because I don't know, we don't really have a beach culture. And most of us don't grow up learning how to swim. So there's just this prevalent fear of the ocean. And it's generally the men who go out to sea for fishing, and forget the women are at home, So I didn't really have any women really to watch and learn from, But yeah, I just thought one day I'll go to California and I'll start to surf, but that never happened. And it was when I moved to Manipal, which is the university town I studied in. That's when I happened to run into some, a German exchange student, actually, who was playing basketball with my friend. And he got talking, and he said he came to India with a surfboard. And we were like, what? What are you doing with the surfboard? There's no waves here. You can't surf here. And he's like, no. I met some guys from California, and they're living in an ashram, and they're teaching me how to surf. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? They're surfers from California, and they're swamis. You know what swamis are? They're kind of a monk, a priest. They study the Hindu holy scriptures, but these surfers were from California, living in an ashram, okay? 1 hour away from where I went for university. And like, I grew up in Bombay, and then I made this decision to move like 2 states down south for university. And yeah, my parents didn't really want me to go down south, and my dad was like, you just want to go there because your boyfriend is there, and which was not wrong. But it was also because like I grew up in the city, and like I know the life, you know, like it's hustle. Like we're talking 26 million people. I've seen my parents work really hard. Like I don't come from like a privileged background, you know, and I feel like in the city you're just living. Sorry, no. In the city, you're just like existing, rather, because you're just doing the grind. You're like waking up, going to work, da da da. You spend so much time in traffic, you know, and even though there's the beach, like you're not really enjoying it. And so I saw that struggle, and like I've always loved the outdoors. I love being in nature, going camping and things like that. So I just like wanted to move to a city, not city, like a smaller town that was like closer to nature, you know. And that's when I made the first adult decision in my life, like I'm gonna go to this university town, because it was just like 20 minutes from the beach or 20 minutes away from like the forest, and you could go hiking, you know, and just that. And like never did I think that I would start surfing there, you know, but I think it was like something I knew intuitively, or something intuitively that was guiding me to make that decision. And it completely flipped my reality, because like now I'm gonna go back, and what I'm talking about is 2007, right? So in 2007, I was like 19 years old. And, you know, when you're in that age, you don't know what to do. You don't really know what you're doing in life. You're like trying to figure it out. And I went through like a major like mini crisis, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And like my parents never really like pressured me to like follow a certain path, because in India, everyone's like doctors, engineers, whatever. So my parents were like pretty cool like that. They're like, okay, do what you want, but you better not mess up, you know, figure it out yourself. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go study journalism. So that's what I went for. And it just so happened like, and like before that, like I thought I wanted to go abroad to study, and that didn't happen. And I was depressed, okay, I really was like, and then the minute I found out about surfing, like just the day I even heard that you could surf, I was like so happy. I was like, I can't believe this. And like the moment I caught my first wave, you know, it was like, just like a switch went off in my head. Like I just felt like a kid again. And growing up in India especially, and even being a woman, I just feel like you're forced to grow up a little too soon, you know, in a lot of ways. There's like so much pressure from just society, and even like it's just a competitive environment, right? And I feel like for me, like not coming from some like super rich background, not having you know, fancy club memberships to go to, you know, like and like you with studies, you have to really like concentrate on your exams. Oh my God. So that idea of playtime, it kind of just like went in my life, like from 7th grade to like 10th, 12th grade. I didn't have that. Like I would say I was active, but I wasn't really like, you know, participating in sports really. And like when I caught my first wave, oh my gosh, like that feeling of joy was so indescribable, you know, like it just made me feel like a kid again. And yeah, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this for the rest of my life, you know, because it didn't matter. I was just like, that feeling was so pure and so sacred to me that I'm like, oh my God, like I've missed feeling like this childlike version of myself, right? And I wanted to hold on to that feeling forever, like the stoke, you know? And ever since then, it was just like, okay, surfing helped me get my priorities right. And I'm like, okay, how do I keep doing this? Because now we're talking about India, okay, in 2007, when if you like literally Googled surfing in India, nothing would show up, okay? I wish I had a screenshot of that search, but back then there were only like 13 surfers in the whole country, and it was like, you know, you just heard like, yeah, someone surfs here, someone surfs there, you know, and we could just count all of us on our fingertips. And so, yeah, it was just like, how do we keep surfing? And I went there to study. And my parents were like, okay, we sent you to university and now you want to spend all your time at the beach. So like, what are you doing? And they were cool. But they were like, okay, as long as you like maintain that balance, And so I got used to waking up early in the morning and going and catching waves before heading for class. And okay, well, I fast forward a little bit, but how do you get a surfboard? So like I said, we met these Californian surfers who were living in an ashram, and they said that, okay, you could like maybe buy one of our boards, like, secondhand. And so I started surfing with like my high school sweetheart, Tushar, and we basically like had to, like, we knew, okay, we were like in love with surfing now. How do we keep doing this? And so we had to like kind of hustle that first summer, sold pretty much like everything we had at home, like things we didn't need, like random things like a sewing machine or like, I don't know if you know those ab crunch machines or whatever. It was like a time before you could even sell things online. So like he would buy shoes in Bombay at this market he knew, like where you get like branded shoes, but you don't ask where it's come from. And so like we had to basically make 10,000 rupees to buy this first board, which was our second-hand board, so that we could surf. And for the first 2 years, we shared that one board between the two of us, and we would only surf on the weekends. So Sunday was like our dedicated surf day, and whether there were waves or no waves, like we were like, we're going. And yeah, this is even before we had a car. So we had to like lug this like 8'6" longboard by local bus to get to this surf spot. Yeah, it was a really different time, a very special time. And like no one really knew about surfing in India, and they were like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we got a lot of like mixed reactions, right? Like even like, because is like now surfing is more well known and like, it's cool to surf. But back then people were just like, oh my God, they've lost the plot in life. Like, what are they doing? So we didn't really have anyone to like guide us really. And it was just about like trusting that feeling of knowing that, okay, I love surfing and I'm meant to keep doing this. And like, how do we make it happen? So Tushar and I, the best way for us was like, and we needed more boards. So we're like, why don't we just start giving surf lessons to like whoever wants to learn, really, like friends in college. And yeah, before we knew it, like we just started a Facebook page, and people would like approach us, and like, we were just like these two kids in a small fishing village in India, and like the surfing has been around, right? And like we knew that surfing is big, but it was like this whole incredible world that existed out there. And we were just like these two kids in this small bubble in India, like, we would just dream of like, okay, one day all these surfers will come to India and we'll get to meet them, like it was so, yeah, big dreams. And which came true, actually. Yeah, so it was just like, how do we keep surfing? And we literally started with like giving surf lessons, and people would sometimes, we'd have like travelers passing through, and they'd bring their surfboards along with them, and they'd leave it, and that's how we like slowly grew our surf collection and started our surf school. And what we noticed was in the fishing village that we're based, so like I grew up in Bombay, right? And I like, I mean, it's like there's the beach, but it's so polluted, right? And then we came to this small village, and over there, like the beach was like, it was clean, it was blue, the water, like you can swim in it, But the kids there were like not even getting into the water. And even though it's like a fishing community, and even we were so surprised to find out that even most of the fishermen themselves don't know how to swim. So we're like, okay, like, and surfing's expensive, right? Like, if you can't afford it, it's difficult. So we're like, okay, we have to take these kids surfing because it's like right in their backyard, and they're playing cricket on the beach. And in India, cricket is like a religion, but then again, I'm not like other Indians. So for me, I'm like, okay, gotta get these kids in the water. And so we just like asked the families in the area, like, can we take them surfing? And mind you, like India has like over 24 languages, okay? Like each state pretty much has its own language. And so even though I'm Indian, I don't speak the local language in the state I'm living in. Okay. And so back then we like went there and we're like, they kind of seen us come to the beach with like boards in the car, and they're like, who are these crazy people? But then one day when we asked this family, like, hey, can we take these kids surfing? They didn't even know how to swim, and the family was cool enough to say, okay, yeah, you can take them. And the day we took those kids out, I kid you not, like the whole village came onto the beach to watch them surf, because they were like, oh my God, like, okay, they are kids. And so then it just became like this way of interacting with the locals through the children. And we didn't speak the language, but we spoke in the language of smiles and shakas. So it was just like, hey, good, good, good. And then even if we were like gonna go home after that, the families would be like, have you eaten food? And we're like, no, no, no. They're like, no, 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 you have to come, and like speaking this broken language really, but the whole the energy was just because of surfing, right? It brought us together. And like in India, like there is a bit of we don't have a caste system anymore so much, but like there is still a class divide, right? Like where if you're like from the city, you generally wouldn't end up hanging out with like a fisherman or his children, because you just exist in different bubbles, in different spheres of the social hierarchy, I guess. And so over there, yeah, it was like really cool to like interact with the fishing community, and otherwise like they looked at us as outsiders, but because of surfing, now they like welcomed us in. And that's when Tushar and I started the Shaka Surf Club, basically to like introduce anyone in India who wanted to learn how to surf, and also provide access to surfing to children in the local community. So from the get-go, we've always kept surfing free for all the kids in the village. And we work with like our neighbors. So we have like 6 families that we collaborate with. And so every house, like one house makes breakfast, one makes lunch, one makes dinner, and people come and get to like really have a very local experience there. And I just feel like nowadays, when you travel, most places you end up having the same experience, or like there's a separation between you and the local community. But we didn't really want that, and we wanted a mutual exchange and a mutual respect when people come. So maybe I will show you a little bit. Maybe I can watch a video. I can watch something. Yeah. Okay. I can let it pause there. Oh, thank you. uh, thank you. So yeah, like when you decide to do something that no one has heard of for the first time, it comes up with like, everyone has an opinion, first of all, and they're like, okay, there's going to be a million people telling you what you can and cannot do. And like, you think older people will, okay, be against it. But like, even friends in college were like, what are you guys doing? And, you get dark, and in India, dark skin is perceived as not so desirable, I guess. So even like friends in college would be like, oh my God, Ishita, you've become so dark. And I had a professor once tell me, you look like you work in a charcoal factory. What the hell? But it didn't matter to me because I love my dark skin, but it's a deterrent, right? For like a lot other people, other girls like who wouldn't really want to do it. And like I said, we were like two broke college kids who just wanted to keep surfing. And like, we're talking back in the day, like you couldn't even find board shorts in India, So it was only a dream of mine to one day be sponsored by one of these brands and like meet all these other surfer women. And like, I was like a little surf nerd, because I didn't have anyone to watch and learn from. So I would just like watch all these YouTube videos online. And yeah, that's how I learned. I was like, pretty much self-taught. So that was pretty much like a struggle throughout, like not having someone to like train us and not having the financial backing. So it became pretty evident early on that I had to be self-sponsored, right? So the dream was to be able to surf every day and at least be able to make like one surf trip a year. That was like my idea of success. And like wake up every day, surf, eat fish, drink coconut water, sunshine, dolphins, amazing. Like, what more do you want, Like, and I think as a surfer, you kind of like, yeah, either you're a surfer or you're not, right? Like, because you like live for the lifestyle, And when I started surfing, I was just doing it for that, for the love of it, right? It wasn't about being the best surfer or all that, And like, I didn't know that I was going to end up being the first woman in the country, And that itself came with like this greater sense of responsibility now, because now I'm a role model for like younger girls in the community. So I just like wanted to be able to spread the joy as much as possible. And that's what I've been doing along the way. And yeah, I faced some obstacles, I think, with like the whole sponsorship thing, because I think people, first of all, opportunities are really hard to come by in India because surfing doesn't really exist as much. And I did get noticed by an international brand, and they did like work with me a little bit, but then I kind of fell off their radar because, man, it's not easy being Indian and having an Indian passport, because you can't just like go visa-free to countries and stuff. So you really need the company to really support you, like to do the backing. And which is why I actually really want to shout out to Afonso for getting me out here, because there was a lot of paperwork involved, and he really came through for me. So thank you to the organizers of this festival for getting me out here and letting me have this stage. So it's like been challenging, right? Like finding sponsors, and their goals are mainly to drive sales, and I guess brown girls are not the main market yet. I kind of was with this brand, which got me noticed. And more than anything, in 2012, I was part of this documentary surf film called Beyond the Surface, which was starring Emmy. Thanks to Emmy, who's in the audience today. She spoke yesterday. And Emmy has an organization called Beyond the Surface International, now called Coast to Coast. But she was doing a project in India, which is focused around like sports for development. And that's kind of like the work we're doing as well. Like, of course, there's the business aspect of me running a surf school, but we're also like, through the Shaka Surf Club, it's kind of like this social experiment that we embarked upon. Because like, okay, in the cities, people are way more open-minded, but like in the village, it's still kind of conservative. And so just us being there, not speaking the language, surfing, we face a lot of resistance from the local community. And like in the beginning, they didn't even have like a concept of tourism, like, like we kind of put that village on the map. Now there's like all these guest houses and stuff, and like the land rate has gone up so much that even we can't afford it. Yeah, we've been renting, and that's a whole other thing. But what I'm saying is like, I just want to talk about it, put it in perspective, like, like you guys are so lucky that you have such a strong surf culture, and like the community's already here coming together for this event. But back there, people just looked at us as like coming to change the culture, and didn't fully trust us to like interact with the children because they worried about what they're gonna wear, and like boys and girls hanging out together, and like there's even kids from different faiths, and we just wanted to create like an inclusive space where everyone can come together. And I think that's the beautiful thing about surfing, is that it really connects you, like brings people together from like different backgrounds, different walks of life. And like I was telling you earlier, there is that class divide in India, and like a fisherman's son would not hang out with, like, say, a CEO of a multinational company, And so like the kids in the village, they didn't really speak English properly, and they had this like inferiority complex, like, oh. And what surfing did was that it gave them this incredible sense of confidence, right? Because now you have this big shot CEO coming to learn to surf with like a kid from the village, But in front of the ocean, like, you're very humbled, right? Because now your life is in this kid's hands. So I think that was really beautiful for us to witness over the years, like watching the kids evolve and grow up and have that sense of confidence now to step into the world and feel like, yeah, just like that sense of pride and self-esteem and dignity that wouldn't probably be afforded to them otherwise. And yeah, it's been really cool, actually. Like, now I've been surfing for how many years? Do the math, 15 years plus. And I've got to like watch these kids grow up, So in a way, like I've been like the older sister, but also part parent. And yeah, like surfing gave them, the reason we did this whole thing was because it just felt like surfing can have such a positive impact on local community, And I truly believe that. And we wanted, like, we knew, like, surf tourism is going to kick off, and like the place, you can't help development, And I studied journalism, and one of my favorite subjects in university was sustainable development. And it makes you question, like, what is development, right? And like, is it just like, people coming from outside, buying out land, constructing big hotels, or like, should it be like, the power should be in the hands of the locals, right? Like, who are living there, like, even though they're fishing communities. And like, if you notice about the state of the ocean, every day the number of fish are declining, right? But these people are living by the sea, and it's like their livelihood. So we're like, how do we like help them live this lifestyle of like, this coast, sustaining their life, like supported by the sea, but in a way that is not really like extractive or that can be sustainable, right? So we wanted these kids to start surfing, and it was like, okay, one day if they choose to want to work with us, like as surf instructors or, whatever, like pro surfers, they can. And yeah, it's been really cool to see, like, some of them have left the village, they've gone to the city, and because, for them it's like the city life, woohoo. But I came from the city to the village, and no one really does that. It's not the other way around, But they got to go to the city, and then, like, I had the joy of hearing one of them say, like, man, like, I want to come back home because I miss falling asleep to hearing the sound of the waves. And so once they had that perspective, they came back to the village knowing, like, oh my God, this is like paradise, and like, how do we protect our neighborhood, our homeland? And like, hey, if it was California, it would be like biggest like real estate, but these kids don't know, the locals don't know, but now it's changing. So a lot of them have grown up, they're working with us, and they've become like the first people in their family. Like, some of them paid their way through college by, working with us, giving surf lessons for them. Like, some of them like were the first people in their family to ever catch an international flight, go to Bali, surf, and come back. So yeah, it has really like changed lives, including mine. And I think, yeah, it was for me, I've been so lucky to be able to like meet other surfers from around the world. I feel like like in India, no one really gave a damn, okay, about surfing. It was only when, like, say, some articles about me were written in international magazines, or like videos came out, or like documentary film, like I mentioned earlier. That's when people started to take notice. And I feel like the international surf community has actually kind of really like welcomed me and, invited me on surf trips and given me the chance to travel to different places in the world. And I think that's what I really love about surfing, is that it really like helps you connect with people on such a real level. There's something just so different about it, because like the ocean is so humbling, and yeah, I think you can just have like really authentic connections and interactions with people that might be missing maybe in other sports. But yeah, I'm just grateful that I had the chance to go places. And yeah, to tie it all back to like, the lessons I've learned. Like for me, surfing honestly is like very spiritual. And my focus for the talk was about like how you navigate times of uncertainty, because like starting us like over here it's more normal, but like starting a surf school in India and like deciding like, okay, this is gonna be my life, come hell or high water, like I want to keep surfing. It was like a really big, like scary decision, right? Because there's nothing to like, there's no certainty. You're just like, I'm just gonna trust this feeling I have that I'm meant to be doing this, and I'm gonna do it, right? And yeah, I think when you're in the water, you really like connect with your intuition a lot more, right? Like you connect with yourself. And like for me, I think that's the biggest muscle I've developed through surfing, the muscle of intuition, which I feel like applies to everybody, right? No matter what you do. And yeah, it's given me like patience to get through like a lot of times of uncertainty and void. Like same like when you're in the washing machine. And yeah, sometimes life throws you curveballs. And yeah, like for example, in 2020, like I said, I started the surf school with Tushar, who was like my childhood sweetheart. We were together for 15 years, and then in 2020 we broke up. And my whole life kind of fell apart. It's like everything that I could hold on to kind of just went away, and it was like a rebirth in a way. And I actually left India for a little while. I went to California and I spent 1 year there. And yeah, it was surfing that saved me again, because I just connected with like the surf community there. And I was working with some friends who had an organization called Sea and Soil and Unmar de Colores. And basically both organizations were, one was a gardening club for surfers. So all the surfers would get together and grow food and like distribute it in the local community. And another one was like a surf club that provided access to kids from underprivileged communities, like mainly BIPOC communities, and took them surfing. So even in California, I was able to like connect with the surf community and give back to the community there. And yeah, that's just kind of how I've traveled now around the world. And I think it's really cool. Like I have friends everywhere I go. And I don't really even stay in hotels, It's like I just have surfers everywhere. And I can like access these little bubbles. And yeah, most places I go, I'm kind of like the only Indian girl in the lineup. But that's just been my special journey to witness. I'm gonna make you, so like I just want to show you a little bit about the work we do at the Shaka Surf Club. This is like after school activity where we take the kids surfing. Yeah, you can just watch it.
Like, we would not have been able to do what we're doing without them.
It's a different experience, you know, where you're really meeting people and connecting with them on a one-on-one basis.
Now I feel more at home in this tiny fishing village than I do in Bombay. We call it Camp Namaloha because it's Namaste and Aloha.
In the local language, Nama also means ours, so in a way it's also our aloha. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, our campsite is called Namaloha, Camp Namaloha. So like I guess on the video, it's a combination of Namaste and Aloha, which kind of mean the same thing. Like this, my soul respects, salutes your soul, and I think so much of surfing is about that Aloha spirit and like respecting one another. And so we call it like our mini Hawaii. It's like I'd love for you guys to come. Actually, please come. But what I wanted to say was, yeah, like even setting this up, it took like a lot of faith in just the vision, the idea. Like Tushar and I both kind of had the secret goal to like make it the coolest village in India. But you know, like I want to go back to like, you know, when people would be like, you can't do this, and it was just about trusting that feeling, you know. And I'm a big believer in following the signs, okay? So like back then when like no one believed in us, like somehow the universe would send us a sign, you know? Like I'd be on a train in India and some kid would be wearing a surf t-shirt, you know, I'm like, that's a sign, you know? Like when I'm questioning, like when your friends are like getting high paying jobs and, you know, right out of college and they're big paychecks and you're like questioning, am I doing the right thing? Like, you know, and you're like, no. And then suddenly that kid will be wearing a surf t-shirt when surfing was not even known. So it's just one example, okay? So I really believe that like, you know, the universe like kind of guided us throughout this thing, and it became like this conversation I started to have with the universe. And it might sound woo-woo, but like I feel like when you're in the water, you're in this like, you're connecting with your heart, you're creating from the heart, not so much the mind. And I feel like water itself is quite intuitive and water sees us. And yeah, it's just helped me. I think it's so magical, really. So it's really like helped me to tap into that magic, like when you're in that flow state, you know, like, you know. So yeah, I feel like with time, you know, like, because the map, there was no map. Like, how do I keep doing this? I just had to keep doing it, you know? And every now and then, like, when we would need help, the help would come, you know? And so that's how I'm like, okay, I see the sign, I hear you, universe. And so kept building on that. And I'd say through the years now, like I really believe like surfing helped me develop my intuition more than anything. So yeah, I really hope that all of y'all can also connect with that sense of magic and flow state and like things coming into alignment. Like honestly, now I'm like a bit of a magic junkie. I'm like, when things are not flowing, I'm like, something's wrong, you know? And even before I came on this trip, you know, like the last 2-3 months was, yeah, it was challenging to say the least. And I was not in a good place, a dark place. And then I got the news that I'd get to have this opportunity. I'm like, okay, stars are aligning, I see it now, you know? And so yeah, surfing gave me like a bigger sense of purpose and like I feel like I said, right, like I didn't feel like fully Indian. I feel like I'm a child of the world, a global child. And I guess I struggled with that sense of belonging. But I think I belong to the ocean, you know, and that's what's beautiful. Like wherever I travel, I can feel part of a coastal community, and that's really special for me. So yeah, maybe I'm digressing, but we can just yeah, I want to talk about some more of the work we do at Shaka with the local kids, because I feel like, okay, this is not a good image to be stopping on, but anyway, whatever. Yeah, so for us, it's like, how do like, you know, you know, surfing can have a positive impact on a community, but like, how do you even, like over here, you have people in like the government who surf, you right? And you have like people making policies. Like I'm coming from India where like, yeah, I told you about the sewage problem and things like that. So, and like you have to start from the grassroots. You have to get the kids surfing. You have to get people in the water, right? Like help them overcome their fear of the ocean so that, because I believe that only when you like connect with the ocean and connect with nature, that you have that greater sense of appreciation for it, first and foremost. And only then will you start to develop respect for it and want to care for it and protect it, right? So I really believe that like for us, like, because like I studied journalism and like I knew early on, like, okay, I can't be stuck behind a desk doing 9 to 5 job, but I do want to make an impact. But I just felt like I could make more of an impact, like in this small town, you know, working with this community and like kind of developing something from the grassroots up. And yeah, so it's been really cool to like watch the kids, like, you know, we go surfing, we do beach cleanups, and like they just like have that global an environment. They're more conscious, right? And in fact, like some of the kids like come from fishing families, and they know how much like even fishing is suffering. And like when they go out fishing, a lot of the bycatch, like half of the bycatch is plastic, you know. And so they're witnessing firsthand like the impacts of like pollution. And this is not just a India problem. This is a global problem. So that education starts with the children, but also like it has to be done in a fun way, right? So that they actually love being in the water, and then the other part just comes naturally. Like, of course, I'm gonna take care of it. So yeah, I feel like most people that live in the city, for example, are living pretty disconnected from nature, and so it's kind of like a out of sight, out of mind mentality. Whereas when you're in the water, you're coming face to face with it, and it makes you wake up and feel like, okay, it's a big problem, but what can I do on an individual level to create some kind of change? And how can we mobilize the community to come together to just clean up our beaches and protect what we love, protect these sacred spaces that are so healing for us, and to remember that we are not separate from nature, we are one. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. So do you know what we're going to be doing today? Beach cleanup. Especially as a woman, I think you're forced to grow up too soon in India, you know, in many ways, just because of pressure from society or just living in such a competitive environment, you know, looking at our population. And surfing just allowed me to break away from all of that and create a safe space for me to express myself in a childlike, playful manner. And that's been very sacred to me. Anything natural, we'll remove that because that's okay. Okay, that can be on the beach. So we have to separate the plastic from the natural waste. For me, it's pretty obvious, and the more time you spend connecting with nature, the more in tune you will be and be able to pick up on these changes. You can see it with the corals getting bleached. You see it with the animals washing up on shore. You see it with the change in water temperature. The sea is our home. Please don't put plastic in it. I think waste management and plastic pollution is a problem of a local, national, and global scale. And we all need to work together to come up with solutions to clean up our oceans. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like the gist of what I do back home. And yeah, I feel like I've come a long way in my surf journey. I've kind of like watched the evolution of the surf culture in India. You know, like when I started, like I said, there were there were only 13 surfers in the country, and the first few years there were like no contests even. And then the first few contests there was no women's category, so I had to go out with the men. But now it's like a whole different shift, you know, like you have young girls, especially like competitive swimmers now becoming like competitive surfers. And I don't know, like I get this title of being India's first professional woman surfer, but like contests were not my focus, you know, like I just happened to be the first one, so I was first, and I am. But when I say unconventional life also, you know, again, your brain thinks, okay, first professional surfer, now I have to become like the best, you know. But I think the ocean or the universe had different plans for me because I tried to take part in contests, but the nerves and like, yeah, these guys know, right? You get so nervous, and like, I would do my best, but I never surfed well in the contest, well enough. Okay, and it was almost like the ocean was treating me like a rag doll, like, and getting out there. No, you don't belong here. Like my heat, no good waves. The next one, good sets, you know. So I've also like tried to like approach my, I don't know, my career path in the unconventional way, right? Like, okay, so it's not, I don't even have to be like a pro surfer. I like to say I'm a professional soul surfer, if that makes sense. And yeah, but the future is bright for surfing in India and women surfing. In fact, we just had like a WSL, like US qualifying series event in India, and like they're competing to qualify for the Asian surfing games. So yeah, big things are happening. I kind of missed the boat on that one. I couldn't get on the Indian surf team yet. They don't take longboarding seriously enough, so it's all like shortboard contests. So yeah, who knows? Maybe in the future. And yeah, but this is probably the future generation of surfers in India. And I'll just play this video because it's been really like challenging for me to get girls in the water. There's not much audio to this, so you can just watch this in the back. Like, and even though we've been like in this village for so many years, okay, you can watch it. Yeah, even though we've been in the village for so many years, like the guys, like the boys take to surfing way more, but the girls, they kind of like need hand holding, you know? But now I have a few girls that are like really stoked on it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping. Yeah, she's my Tanushree. I have high hopes for her. Yeah. Yeah, these are the local girls, the future surfer girls of Kodi Bengre, village where I'm in. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, I guess, from my side about how surfing has changed my life, and I'm trying to like just share it with as many people as possible and hope that it changes their lives. Yeah, it's taken me to places all around the world, and I think that's just been the best part about my journey. So thank you all once again for coming out. Yeah, really appreciate it.